What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night. You going live with
Friday
the Play
night.
Collis. Man, it's been a long week for me personally, man. So, I'm glad to get on here, talk a little sports tonight. Looking forward to it. So, I don't know, man. Did anything happen this week, man? Anything to actually talk about tonight?
Well, they're still a undefeated team in the NFL.
Heard something about that. Heard something about that.
Yeah, Kyrie's still a fool.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden's hurt.
Okay. So
And we
basically,
had
nothing's really changed.
we had a couple of NFL trade deadline things that popped off. Um, college football playoff. The first rankings are out, so a couple things may have happened. A couple things may happen.
A few things might have happened, and the Lakers might have made a move that I've been begging for since last season. So lots of stuff to talk about, I guess. So if we're gonna do that, man, I guess we should go and introduce ourselves. So for those of y'all might be new to the show, my name is Stephen Box, and I'm joined as always by my co-host.
Tonight we're going with Mr. Cool McCain.
And just in case you do not know, we are the undisputed, reigning, defending
Galaxio, Milky
tag
Way, yo,
team champions of interactive sports talk. And
Universal.
they call us the
Play
Play Call. All right. So, man, yeah, lots to talk about tonight, man. Where do you want to kick this off at?
Man, we might as well go ahead and get old crazy Kyrie out the way first, man.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna let you give your thoughts first, sir.
I mean, my thoughts are pretty simple, man. Kyrie said what he said. I'm of the thought process based on especially past comments from Kyrie that he meant what he said. I'm kind of tired of these fake apologies. I haven't even read the apology. I don't even have to read to know it's a fake apology. So my thing is, you said it. You knew there was probably gonna be consequences for saying it. Whether somebody agrees with his comments, disagrees with his comments, are irrelevant. You knew that making a comment like that was going to have some backlash to it. So either be man enough to take the backlash or don't say it. That's my only thoughts on it. I mean, outside of that, I really don't care. We already know to do crazy, so really nothing else to add in my mind.
I'm gonna say a lot of people are upset with him being punished for what he's said and what he linked to. I haven't read through all the stuff because honestly, man, I'm tired of making. I almost said Kanye because we know how they go.
Yeah.
Kyrie relevant by talking about the foolishness. First, the world was flat, didn't want to get COVID shots. Now you're posting comments and adding it to an anti-Semitic and linking to an anti-Semitic video. Um, so it's either two things for me: either you watched the video, you didn't care, or you didn't even take the time to watch what you posted. Either way, it's about the same to me. I think that we're in a culture time now where anything you say about anybody, it's cancel culture on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get in trouble. So you know that you have to be smarter. The contents of what he said is what he said. We live in a country it's supposed to be freedom of speech. It's not. It's only free for certain people, and if you're only talking about certain people. Um, I think just as a group, as a nation, whatever, you got to get to the point where we don't hold people who have shown that they don't have the common sense to be it to a high standard. This guy hasn't done anything for us to be like, oh, Kanye should know better. Oh, Kyrie should know better. And the reason I bring up Kanye seriously is he's the starter of the whole thing, right? So as a
Mm-hmm.
follower, Kyrie decided he was gonna hop on, make his statement, and say what he wanted to say. even though
Yep.
he saw what happened to Kanye. You did not think that
Yep.
something similar was going to happen to you.
Right.
And I mean, you have to be smarter. And if you don't care, you don't care.
Yep.
But when those endorsement dollars go away, when you get canceled by certain people that were backing you, and those things happen, then I think you're going to care a little bit. And your
Yep.
apology, so to speak, was disingenuous at best.
Yep. I mean, that's why I say, man, like at the end of the day, like if you're not going to man up and stand behind what you said, don't say it.
You go
And if
listen
you're
to that
sharing
Ti
something
stand up.
out, yeah, and if you're sharing out stuff and you didn't watch it or anything else, that's your fault. And nobody told you to go share something without watching it. So in my mind, it's like there's just no excuse for it. I mean, you talk about not expecting so much of people. I mean, I think that as a society, we definitely have gotten a little too comfortable with judging other people while acting as if we're perfect. I think that's more of a societal problem that we have. But the people who are writing paychecks to him certainly have a right to expect him to uphold a certain image in exchange for those paychecks. And if you don't want to hold that image, or you're not willing to, you know, do what is being asked of you, don't cash the checks. It's very simple. No one's making you cash those checks. It's completely optional.
You make a valid point. You make a valid point. But those checks are still going to be cashed
Uh
until
huh.
they
Yes,
stop
they will.
coming.
Yeah. And
Until
that's
they
why we
stop
get fake
coming.
apologies.
Yep, because the checks need to be cashed.
Uh huh. We get fake apologies, and but you knew it was coming. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that kills you about it. You knew it was coming. It's not like it was
And
a
in his,
surprise.
and in the statement that the Nets released, and this is the part I want everybody to pay attention to real quick when you're reading, because a lot of people don't really read; they just kind of browse through. He's expending a minimum of at least 5 games. They didn't say it was going to be five, just at least five.
Hmm.
They're going to check the current, how things are feeling, what people are saying about 4 games into this, and decide if they want to extend it or not.
Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. If there's a big outrage about I can't believe he's only getting 5 games, it'll go up. If people just kind of stay quiet about it and nothing else really blows up out of it, it'll be 5 games.
Because they're better with him than without him. Because
Uh huh.
without him and Kevin Durant disengaged, they're depending on the softest guy in the NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, WNBA, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, uh, college football, lacrosse,
Hmm.
soccer, you know,
Yeah.
every sport you can name, golf, tennis, whatever else you want to bring, bowling, and Ben Simmons.
You know, I will just say this, man. For the people who might feel how that's messed up for the organization to do that, this is not any different than what we've seen in other sports for a very long time. Teams always are going to ultimately do what's best for the team.
Hmm.
And assuming that they can get by without any public backlash, the best thing for them is to get him back on the court as soon as possible. So that's why they're doing it the way they're doing it.
You got to do what's best, right? People want to say, people want to get mad because something happened, but they had to do something. He
Hmm.
had several chances to walk back his statements, and he wouldn't. So at that point, you know, let's be real, it's a dollar thing.
Hmm.
Those same Jewish people, whether he was saying things and mean them to be a certain way or not, those Jewish people with that Jewish dollar are now upset. So they can take that dollar elsewhere. You don't
Hmm.
want that, so you got to do what you got to do, and that's why
Yep.
he's suspended. That's really
Yep.
the only reason.
And I'm just gonna also point out the fact here, man, that at the end of the day, this is all for show, right? All the little comments that come out, all the little statements that get released, that we're going to suspend you for 5 games. It's all for show. I'm not going to sit there and say that any of these people don't genuinely feel the way that they're saying. Maybe they do. But all this public display of, this, that, and the other, it is all for show.
That's what it boils down to. Real
Yeah.
talk, 3,000%.
Yeah. So y'all can keep watching, grab you some popcorn, be entertained by it, but don't take none of this stuff too seriously.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching the
Just
games for the people that's playing and college
yeah, this
football and professional football. That's what I'm gonna be watching.
this
Y'all can
this
do
is
y'all
a
thing.
this is a bunch of rich people playing around, trying to figure out ways to get more money.
And speaking of rich people figuring out ways to get more money, it's been reports that the Washington Commanders owners, Daniel Snyder and the missus, have retained the services of a firm that helps people with selling, teams, organizations, things like that.
Hmm.
So a possibility that the Commanders could be sold to one of a few different groups we've heard about so far. Not really at a point to we should go into them,
Hmm.
but I just bring it up just to simply say this, and of course your thoughts as well. I apologize, everybody. I've got about 75% of my voice back. Um, I really wasted a lot of it Sunday in Philadelphia, so it is what it is. But to me, the big thing is we're going in a direction where this dude might get rid of the team. That's
Hmm.
good for me. I like that because this guy should not be owning an NFL franchise or a franchise for any sport.
Yeah.
So excited that there's a possibility that a sale might take place, or at least exploratory discussions.
Yeah.
So and then there's more things that may be coming out on Mr. Snyder. So he may already know like, oh, the sale's gonna happen. So let me go ahead and get in front of it.
Yeah, it's funny because a couple weeks ago it was, I got files on everybody. I'm gonna go scorched earth. And now all of a sudden, you're talking to people about potentially selling. So clearly there's some more information that either has come available that somebody else was like, hey bro, you ain't the only one with folders, right? Or maybe we know there was some investigations by like the FBI and places like that, so maybe they about to come in on him. So whatever the case is, something is definitely changed in the last couple of weeks because that tune done changed real quick.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, hopefully they get up out of it, man. I mean, I know there's a lot of conversation about who might buy the team and all these different people and all this other stuff. And all I'm gonna say is, I just hope that whoever buys the team is a better owner than the guy that's there now.
I hope whoever buys the team also changes the name to Red Wolves or Red Tails or something, because Commanders suck. So somebody levels.
They should have been the Commandos.
There should have been so many different things besides what they are, and that's the tooth.
The
And I'll tell it,
Doof.
did the tooth.
I'm still not completely convinced that they didn't go with his name just out of spite. That the insider was basically like, y'all gonna make me change my name. I'm going to give us something that's terrible.
Y'all gonna make me change my name up in here, up in here. So hey man, all I can say about that, just left this. Things normally happen the way they should. Sometimes it just takes longer than other times. If you
Yeah,
smell what the rock is cooking.
I do. I do. So, real quick, man, I just want to throw out there for everybody that we have a new feature here on the Play Colors Sports Talk YouTube channel. We have our community tab now set up. So, been over there dropping some polls and some different posts. So, if you want to be able to connect with us a little bit more, That's a great place to go do it. You can also connect with other fans of the show, find some other people to talk some sports with throughout the week. So it's a cool place. You can just go in there and just kind of hang out and talk stuff. And speaking of that, we got a poll up right now, and I want to see what your thoughts are on it about which or not free agent, but which trade is going to have the biggest impact this year. So as of right now, the leader in that poll, which you can still go vote on if you're watching, is Bradley Chubb going to the Dolphins. So what are your thoughts on that trade?
Definitely a trade that helped both parties. Draft picks went to Chicago. Um, my bad, not Chicago, but draft
I mean
picks
Denver.
went to Denver. Yeah,
Yeah,
thinking
yeah, I knew
about
what you meant.
Robert Quinn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wonder why.
but but yeah, so draft picks went to Denver, which they needed because they are the they're the reft of picks because they spent them all on mediocre Russell.
hmm Which I gotta say, just side note on that, the fact that you went and gave up everything you gave up for Russell Wilson, and then you actually had people talking about you being a seller at the deadline and basically having to start over, is hilarious to me.
Well, as a fan of another team in the division, I'm sure it's hilarious to you. Um, it's
I'm not
hilarious
a
to me
fan
too,
of
to
a
be
team in that
honest.
division.
Oh, it's the we're talking about the AFC. My bad, man. I'm all out of sorts today.
Bro, you worse than me, and you know what,
Yeah.
my week's been like.
Oh, trust me, you don't even want to talk about my week, but it is what it is. Uh, I'm getting focused, y'all. I'm getting focused. I'm bringing my focus back. There we go. Got my focus back. All right. So, being a fan of a West Coast team, I'm sure you're reveling in the fact that there's one less team out there that matters because the only
Right.
way that Denver matters right now is because they're the worst team. And I think the thing is them and the Raiders, right? And the Raiders because you've got the guy that most people think is the best receiver in the NFL, and you have done the same thing to him that you've done to other people. You're just wasting his talents.
Listen,
Shame on you.
you know I am not a fan of Derek Carr. Never have been. But somehow that dude has actually gotten worse with Devontae Adams, and I don't understand it.
That's crazy.
Like how you add Devontae Adams get worse?
And that's his former teammate on top of it. So we're not even talking
Right.
about somebody that you don't have chemistry with, that you haven't played with before. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think, yeah, their coach has got to
The,
get up out of there because he is trash juice.
the only person that's actually gotten better on that team
It's
is Josh
Jacobs
Jacobs, who they wanted to get rid of in the preseason.
because they don't know talent.
Like he's the only guy playing well.
And if I remember correctly, they didn't extend him, so this is his last year.
I believe so. I mean, they can
Yeah.
franchise him next year, but yeah, it's
Are you going to franchise him after what you paid Devontae Adams? No.
I don't know, bro. So yeah, so the Bradley Chubb trade, man.
It
To
was
me,
it's,
what
it's a great trade.
yeah, to me,
Long story short, it's
what
great.
this says is this is the Dolphins pushing all their chips in and saying we understand there's an opportunity right now, but if we want to have a chance of getting by Kansas City or Buffalo, we can't stay the way we are. We had to do something.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think it's a smart move for them. Um, Another trade that got some votes was Roquan Smith going to the Ravens.
That was a good trade, and I like that because anytime you can upgrade your linebacker core with a number one type guy, top five linebacker in the
Yep.
league, you do it. So I
Yep.
like that move. And then I guess they weren't going to pay him, so he's going to walk. So you at least get back more than you would have gotten in comp picks.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a trade that actually worked out pretty well for both sides. Um, you know, he obviously wanted out earlier in the year. Now, I did not understand from the Bears' perspective though. You trade Roquan Smith. Okay, I kind of get that because you you were gonna probably lose him anyways, and like you said, you got better compensation than you would in comp picks. But you also traded Quinn, but then you go out and you trade and get a receiver. So you're like, we're gonna try to make the offense better while making the defense worse.
So I'm going to say the same thing I said on pregame and pigskin last night. The Bears are the loser, the ultimate loser at the trade deadline. You traded your two best defensive players, you got back picks, and then you went out and wasted part of the things you got on Chase Claypool. And I'm not saying Chase Claypool is not a good receiver, but Chase Claypool is not always there here. And you're going to add him to that dysfunctional situation. You're going to trade for Chase Claypool. You want him in a veteran locker room where he's surrounded about guys. You think about it. He played for Mike Tomlin and he wasn't always focused. Do you really think that disaster that's going on in Chicago is going to help him be a better focused player? It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not super clear on that decision. I mean, I get you had to make the offense a little bit better, but I mean, what was the point if you were already dismantling the defense pretty much?
You didn't need to make the offense better.
Yeah. Oh,
You
and
need to
don't
stay put and keep the
and
picks.
don't forget that your starting safety from last year is playing for the 49ers right now because you let him go too in the offseason. So that's three guys who actually were a part of that defense playing well last year that are no longer there. Just doesn't make a lot of sense.
It
So
does not.
another trade. No one has voted for this one yet, but curious what your thoughts are as an Eagles fan on Robert Quinn. What does he add to the Eagles?
So the Robert Quinn trade, I was like, all right, cool, good trade, love it. Then Jordan Davis got hurt. So we needed another guy on that defensive line that could put up major minutes and can go in and be a difference maker, while we're waiting for that to rectify itself. He's on IR, so he's out at least 4 weeks. So that Quinn trade becomes so much more important due to that. So my thing is, I don't think it's better than some of the other trades because there's nobody in there that's sexy. There's nobody that you say, Robert Quinn, he's an older player, he's still good, but he's an older player.
Yep.
He's a more kind of like down-to-earth guy. He's not really, too out there. He's not very demonstrative. He just goes out, does his job, keeps it moving. So it's not a sexy pick. It's not something that a lot of people are going to say makes a difference. But anytime you can get a veteran lineman to bring into a veteran group and everybody works good together, they were excited to have him, man, greeting them, showing them some love from the beginning. So this is a move that I think is going to help Philadelphia as they get further into the season and hopefully deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it was a guy that, it's very similar in my mind. Obviously not quite the same situation, but it's very similar to what happened last year with the Rams when they went out, got OBJ, and then lost Robert Woods like literally that same week. So you're losing one guy, but at this point, Jordan Davis obviously still a young player, still a little bit inexperienced. You're now able to plug that hole in with a veteran who is actually going to bring a lot more to the team and to that defensive line. So, you hate to lose the young guy, you hate to lose that depth, but it is nice to be able to now have a guy like that to plug in versus having to put a really inexperienced guy in who maybe wasn't as good. And people underestimate how important that is, especially on that defensive line.
Very true.
So the other trade that did get some votes is Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers. For me, I'll just say I think the biggest thing with this trade is obviously a big part of San Francisco making this trade was that Kyle Shanahan wasn't happy with where the running game was. He wanted to go out and get a running back who could actually help get this running game going again this year. So I think that was huge. But to me, the bigger thing here is you have now given Jimmy Garoppolo a guy he can dump the ball off to with confidence. So you're now going to hopefully, and we saw this against the Rams last week, so hopefully this continues, but you saw Jimmy Garoppolo did not force the ball into the middle of the field when guys were covered. He was more than happy to just drop the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. And not surprisingly, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have any interceptions last week. Now, Jalen Ramsey almost made a heck of a play to make him have one, but he dropped the ball. but that would have been a great defensive play more so than it would have been a mistake by Jimmy Garoppolo. So that to me is going to be the biggest thing about Chris McCaffrey coming is giving that extra weapon that you can dump the ball out to, and then him actually do something with it.
Yeah. You you had a running back to a team that's never really had a running back of that caliber with the current coaching staff. A guy that has more versatility. As I said when the trade was made, as I said when he was in North Carolina, here in Charlotte, the only danger to him is himself getting hurt.
Yeah.
Period. If he stays healthy, great pickup. But his history shows the last 3 years, that may not happen. If he overcomes that, maybe the way that he's used there, the blocking, the scheme, maybe he's a guy that can stay healthy finally there. If that happens, man, great for you guys, and it's a good pickup.
Yeah.
But you always have that specter of it only takes one play for him to get hurt and be out, and it doesn't have to be season ending. If he misses 3 or 4 games near the end of the season when you're really trying to build that resume, that could hurt. But from a talent standpoint, definitely an upgrade to what you had, and that's what you're trying to do when you make this type of trade. You're trying to upgrade your team. The Panthers need to get rid of him. They were never going to be able to compete while he was there, just because the style you need to play with him you didn't have with the current roster, so it wasn't a fit, and there was no need to try to get rid of people and rebuild to have it what it was. It's looking better without him, and that's not a knock to him. Just that they wouldn't got a guy in Deontay Foreman who is a dog and who is more of a traditional running back, which is what they need.
Well, I think too, man. We talked about this before, not involving the trade specifically, but when it came to where the Carolina was using McCaffrey, I felt like they depended too much on him,
Mm-hmm.
and him not being there has forced them to say, hey, we are going to run the ball, but we're also going to throw the ball out to our receivers, and we're going to get other guys involved, and the offense has become more balanced. And let's also not discredit the fact that it's not just that you're using other guys now, but there's one guy in particular that's a little bit different on this team also that I think is important for us to acknowledge. You got a different guy at quarterback now. And he's a guy that a lot of people felt last year should have kept the starting job instead of Cam Newton getting it back. So, it's good to see him getting his opportunity to go out there. They should have beat Atlanta this past week. Um, we know why they didn't beat Atlanta, because somebody took their helmet off after making a spectacular catch and getting a 15-yard penalty. Although based on that overtime kick, I don't know, man. Maybe he would have missed the extra point anyway. But you just can't do that to your team. You can't add 15 yards to an extra point for something stupid like taking your helmet off.
Well, I'll say this about it. I'll say this. I don't know if it was you or someone else. Shouldn't have been a penalty because it didn't. The helmet didn't come off in the field of play, so it should have been a penalty. It only should be a penalty if it was in the end zone or in the field of play. When the helmet
It was
came
in the
off, he
end
was
zone.
already out of this. It was already out of the end zone when it actually came off. If you go back and look, when the actually helmet actually came off of his head, he's already out of the end zone. He began to unstrap it and pull it, but it didn't come off till he was out of the end zone. But be that as it may, if he had taken it off right there in the spot and they got 15 yards, you're an NFL kicker and you can't make a field goal because all it turned into was a regular field goal, and you can't make that. And then on top of that, anyone wants to blame that young man, man, you need to sit down because on top of that, the defense went and got the ball back in overtime, put them in a position to kick another field goal, and what did he do? He choked again. If your kicker can't kick a field goal in the end of the game and then can't make a field goal in overtime, you should he shouldn't be your kicker. That's the who lost in the game.
Well, I'm going to argue that first of all, I think it's insane to say that a 48-yard field goal is just a field goal. That's a long kick, and that's what it ended up being after the 15 yards. So yeah, I am going to blame DJ Moore for the 15-yarder. You knew better. You knew you couldn't do it. There was no reason for it. I do think it's a stupid rule, but nonetheless, you knew the rule. And I'm also going to say that despite that, and despite the fact that you can very much put the game on him, their kicker had no reason to miss that second kick. So I'm also okay if you want to say, you know what? Yeah, he originally cost the game to go to overtime, but the kicker ultimately lost the game in overtime. I don't have a problem with that either because you were right.
Bro,
There was no excuse
if
for
you're
him to
an
miss
NFL,
that second kick.
if you're an NFL kicker, you can't kick a 48-yard field goal. You shouldn't be on the field. Period.
Man,
Period.
there's a lot
Period.
of kickers that miss 48-yard field goals, man.
Then they shouldn't be on the field.
Well, you do that, half the teams in the league not gonna have a kicker. If we
Hey,
gonna cut somebody every time they miss a
there's
48-yarder.
game on the line. You can't make a 48-yard kick. You don't need to be there the next week. Period.
I'm just telling you, bro. If we go start cutting people every time they can't make a 48-yarder, ain't nobody gonna have no kickers.
Again, listen closer. Game on the line. You can't make a 48-yard kick. You need to be gone.
You choke, man.
Yeah. So he needs to be gone. If you can't make it when it needs to be made, that's your only job. Kickers don't have to go out there and block. They don't have to run. All they do is line up and kick a field goal. And I'm not saying it's easy. Anybody in the world could go do it, but you're supposed to be the best 32 kickers in the NFL. If you're one of the best 32 kickers in the NFL, you can't make a 48-yard field goal, then you shouldn't be on the team. And then you get a chance to redeem yourself, and you miss that too.
I'm still gonna say it's inexcusable to take your helmet off in that situation.
Well, man, I mean, you're a
Plenty other
player.
ways you
You're
could have
emotional.
celebrated. Yeah, plenty
You're a
other ways you could
player.
have celebrated.
You're emotional. I don't blame the guy for getting emotional and not thinking in a moment and taking off his helmet to celebrate a great big play that he did to help his team get a touchdown. That if he didn't score, they would even been in a position to possibly win the game. So I'm not going to blame him for that. I'm going to say you should know better, but I'm not going to blame him for that because the kicker had two opportunities and he choked both of them away, and he
I'm gonna
should be
explain.
out of there.
I'm gonna blame both of them. That's what I'm gonna do
I'm not going to blame both of them.
because I realize that more than one person can be responsible for stuff. I know
Well,
it's a
good for you.
shocking, crazy idea in today's
I'm going to
world, but
blame the
that's what I'm gonna
person
go with.
who had the opportunities and didn't take them, and do the most with it for the one thing that he's there to do. Twice, I'm going to blame him
Hey, that's fine, man. I'm just gonna blame both of them. But either way,
because if you hit
the point still stands. Because we had a little
35
sidetrack there.
yards,
The point
what it
still
is.
stands that I think PJ Walker deserves a lot of credit for how well Carolina's playing right now.
And I will say this about PJ Walker. Last year, PJ Walker was nowhere near as good as he's been this year. If he played this well last year, we don't have Sam Darnold and what you call it in the battle. We don't have that. PJ Walker's the starter if he played this well. This was possibly him sitting up under those guys, seeing what they do as well as watching what Cam doing last year and developing. This is a testament to development.
This is what it looks like when you get to sit back and watch the other guys do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't imagine he took too much good from any of those guys.
Well, I mean, there's every quarterback has some good, right? It's just they can't put everything together. That's why they end up on the bench or out of the league. But I think sometimes you get an opportunity to watch other guys, and you could take some of the positives that they do. Baker Mayfield, for all his flaws, he probably would still be out there if he didn't get hurt. He can win games. He just can't do anything consistently. Sam Darnold, they ruined him in New York. Um, what else can you really say?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. So real quick, man, let's talk about this college football playoff ranking that came out. So as we talked about before the show, for the benefit of our audience here, we're only going to talk about the college football playoff rankings because they're the only ones that actually matter now. AP polls do not matter anymore.
Absolutely. Not at
So
all. They have no meaning.
number one, we have Tennessee. Uh, Number two, we have Ohio State. Number three, we have Georgia. Number four, we have Clemson. Number five, we have Michigan. Number six, shockingly, we have Alabama on the outside looking in. At seven, we have TCU. At eight, we have Oregon. At nine, we have USC. And at 10, we have LSU. And I'm not going to go past 10. Um, unless you just want to point out anybody else in there.
I want to point out UCLA
Okay.
um, at 12.
Okay.
And the reason is I'm interested in what's going to happen uh, with the Pac 12 this season. Because you've got Oregon at 8,
Mm-hmm.
you've got UCLA at 12. UCLA has a
Yeah,
loss,
you see, you
Oregon
got
has a
USC
loss.
at 9 also.
Yeah, you got USC at 9 also. But my focus is between those two for a specific reason. But I'm very interested to see how that ends up playing out.
Yeah. And also Utah is now part of the Pac-12, if I'm not mistaken. So they're sitting at 14, and then you also do have Oregon State at 23. So they actually have quite a few teams from the Pac-12 in the top 25.
Yeah, they do. But I like the UCLA was a team that everybody thought was going to be very good, but that one loss kind of did a lot for how people feel about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will acknowledge the fact that the ACC, which generally struggles to have anybody in the top 25 other than whatever team is leading the conference. Right now, they got Clemson at 4. They actually have North Carolina at 17, Syracuse at 20, Wake Forest at 21, and NC State at 22. So a couple of those teams I feel like are maybe a little bit lower than what I would expect them to be because most of their losses are to each other or to Clemson. So it might some of those might be a little bit low, but at least they are in the top 25.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
So
ACC. Go ahead.
no, I didn't know if you heard me or not, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, ACC man. We know it's Clemson, but there's a few other teams that are at least in the running right now, which is really good. I talked about how North Carolina needed to win because you need, if you're Clemson, you need the team that you're playing to be ranked from the other side. So it kind of comes down to a numbers thing. And when I'm looking at those numbers, I'm thinking to myself, dude, the ACC has got to be more like this. Like you guys, I know you mentioned it, but Carolina at 17, Syracuse at 20, Wake at 21, NC State at 22. So you're seeing the committee say there's some quality teams in the ACC. They're not top 10, top 15, but they're in that top 20, 22 range, right?
Mm-hmm.
About 15 to 22, somewhere in there. So that's good because it's showing that the committee, who honestly, the other rankings are there, but they don't mean anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they feel about these teams. So that's interesting. That's good for the future. That's good for, if they can stay there, that's good for trying to go back to the table, maybe add some more teams. I talked about on the big dogs, UConn, Appalachian State, Notre Dame in football, among others, as possible West Virginia, as possible teams to add. So with that, with having them look good, that gives you that opportunity. If they're not playing well, you don't have that opportunity. So I'm excited to what they're, been able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's definitely one of those situations, man, where the more teams that you can have from a conference kind of playing well, we know the result of that, right? Where it starts getting you some benefit of the doubt, and it starts getting teams ranked higher year after year, which then gives
Mm-hmm.
you a little bit of a cushion to be able to lose games and still stay in competition. Of course, we now know that we're going to have the expanded playoffs coming up here in the next couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. But yeah, now is the time, man. This is the time for, especially the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 to start to establish themselves and start to have create some arguments for why they deserve more teams when those playoffs expand. Because what you don't want is you don't want to be viewed as a bad conference. And then when the expanded playoffs roll around, it's just an excuse to have like 4 or 5 Big Ten and SEC teams in.
Yeah, you don't want that. I don't want any parts of that.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, oh, okay, we'll give these other conferences one team apiece, and then we'll fill in the rest of it with Big Ten and SEC teams. We don't want that.
We want no parts of that. I agree.
Yeah, no parts. So man, big game obviously this week is Tennessee Georgia. Do you have any thoughts you want to share on this game?
I would like to see Tennessee um, keep themselves as the #1 team and win this game. I'm not 100% sure if they can do it. They've got guys that can play, so let's get it straight. I'm not saying that they don't have guys that can play, but sometimes it's hard to be that team when you haven't been that team. If that makes any sense, you're fighting
Hmm.
to kind of be that big dog. You've never been there. Like they've got Hendon Hooker. Let me tell you, that guy could play, and he's
Yeah.
from where a lot of my family from Greensboro area, North Carolina, and they say he's been the truth for a long time. You know, it always makes a difference. They got running backs, Hunter Barnes, Dylan Simpson, Jabari Small, even with Whitehead, who was the guy they depended on for a little bit that got hurt. They still have a lot of weapons in that running back room, and then you talk about wide receivers, man. Do we even really need to go through the list? We don't. We know what they have at wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
This is an amazing team. This is that culmination of young talent, great players all getting together, having that year that you want to turn into more. Kind of like what Georgia did, right? Because Georgia won last year, and then all of a sudden Georgia started having better recruiting class,
Hmm.
right? People start thinking about transferring to Georgia. A lot more people are talking to Georgia, even ones that didn't go. You get in that stratosphere, you're on your way, and that's what Tennessee's at. And I'd love to see it because I'm tired of the same 2, 3 teams dominating the SEC. Let's get some new blood in here. Tennessee, y'all there? All you gotta do is keep it. Get you a win this weekend. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, look, this Tennessee team to me is clearly not as dominant as say like Georgia was last year, right? But the
Right.
reality is, I don't think there's a single team in the country this year that is at that level of dominance, right? I mean, every single team that's at the top right now has some flaws. Clemson's had a couple of scares. Ohio State, for as good as they've looked, they've got some weaknesses up there. Georgia has some weaknesses this year compared to last year. So, Tennessee can very easily win this game. Uh, yes, they have their own issues, especially defensively. They have some issues that they need to get tied up. But man, that offense is hard to stop. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball. Uh, they've got playmakers all over the field, and it's just what they're doing is very unique. So we saw, man. Alabama couldn't stop them, right? Nick Saban, supposedly the genius couldn't figure out a defense, a game plan to actually stop them. So all Tennessee has to really do, man, is they got to make sure they get some stops on defense and they can slow Georgia down a little bit. And that Georgia offense hasn't looked quite as crisp this season as it did last year. So
The defense hasn't either.
no, that defense definitely has not looked. I was saying the offense hasn't looked quite as crisp. The defense hasn't even looked like it's the same team. Like, but I mean, how many guys did they lose off that defense? I mean, it was probably unrealistic to expect them to even look anywhere remotely as good this year as they did last year.
You have a very valid point, sir. You have a very valid point. But like you said, there's a lot of people they lost that are making names for themselves, or at least being solid role players on NFL teams right now. And it's
Yeah.
hard to replace that much talent. That's why I say you get that year. I want to see Georgia hang around just because it should always be Alabama. But you got like Ole Miss hanging around there in the top 10, the 12 in the rankings as well. So you kind of want to get more teams just competing. Um, ACC the same way. You want to get more teams being noticed because it does more for your conference. ACC is kind of in
Mhm.
a position where it's like, we need to get more money. We need to entice some more teams to this conference. So let's do it. We do that by winning. Winning
Yep.
solves everything.
Real quick, man, before we get into our NFL picks, I do just want to throw this out there. I want to take my moment of pettiness. And although Florida State is not a top 25 team, although we probably have like pretty much no chance of being a top 25 team by the end of the season, or if we do, we'll barely make it in. None of that matters to me right now because the thing I'm taking the most joy in is knowing that Jimbo Fisher and his Texas A&M Aggies actually have a worse record than us. And yes, I am being King Petty. I do not care. I am taking so much joy in watching Jimbo fail miserably. And everything I said about him that would happen has come true. Try to tell you A&M fans, y'all didn't want to listen.
I'm gonna say my last thing before we get to that is Florida State and Miami play this weekend. Miami's disappointed me on so many levels this year, but this is our national championship. We have nothing else. We have nothing else. So I expect to see them come out and play well this week. I don't know who else good enough, but I expect to see them give everything they have because we have nothing else. We've blown it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talk about every year. Florida State, Miami, you can throw records out the window. You get rid of everything else. And accept the fact that this game is always going to be hard hitting, it's going to be nasty, it's going to be guys going out there and competing and giving it everything they have. And you're talking about earlier about, kickers not be able to make, kicks shouldn't be on the team. I'm gonna say if you're a player for one of these two teams and you can't get up for Florida State Miami, you shouldn't be playing college football.
And if you're a professional kicker in the NFL and you can't make a 45-yard field goal, you should be off the team in the clutch. That's what you pay for. If you miss in the second quarter, dude, you suck. Get right. You miss in the fourth quarter to win the game, bruh. You choking? Just saying.
NFL picks. Let's do this. So we got the Chargers at the Falcons. I'm not sure who's playing receiver for the Chargers this week, by the way. They do the whole receiving core out.
I'm still gonna pick them over the Falcons.
I'm actually going Falcons on this one. I think the Falcons are kind of feeling themselves right now.
They are feeling themselves. They're about to crash back down to earth this week.
We got
Win
the
or
all
lose.
right.
We
So up
also got
next we
the
got the Dolphins at the Bears. Definitely going Dolphins on this one.
definitely Dolphins. We can just move on. We ain't got to talk about it.
We got the Panthers at the Bengals.
Gotta go Bengals in this one, but tight game. I'm gonna go. I'm even gonna go score in this one. I'm gonna go 27-24.
Okay. I'm also gonna go Bengals. I'm not gonna give a score on this one. All right, we got the Packers at the Lions.
Get right game for Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna go Packers.
Yeah, I mean, right now outside of Minnesota, I'm gonna pick Green Bay against anybody else in that conference. So I'm also gonna go Packers. Then we got the Raiders at the Jags.
I'm gonna say the Jags don't quite know how to win. They're close, but they just don't seem to be able to close it out. And Josh Jacobs has been playing like a manimal. So I feel like the Raiders are going to finally get another win.
I'm going to agree with you that the Jags are close and just haven't figured out how to win yet. I'm also going to say that the Raiders clearly have no idea how to win either, though, and they don't even seem to be close. So I'm actually thinking that Jacksonville is going to finally get over the hump this week. I think this is a good opportunity for them to get over that hump. All right, we got the Colts at the Patriots. I'm going to go Patriots, man. You're giving me a guy in his second game against Bill Belichick. I'm going Patriots.
I'm actually going to go Colts. I don't trust anybody at quarterback for the Patriots right now, especially Mac Jones. I've never been sold on Mac Jones. You can go back and watch pre-draft,
You know how I feel.
post-draft, during the draft. So I think if Mac Jones is your starting quarterback, you have a very low probability of winning. Ellinger has played solid. Sometimes when you're young, there's not a lot of tape out on you yet. You can get by with some things. I think that's this week. Um, Not a blowout at all. The Colts have a stable at running back, so they still got guys that are going to be able to carry that rock and make some things happen. The Colts have Pittman. The Colts have a couple of guys at receiver that are going to get the job done. So I'm going to actually go Colts, but I'll even give you a score in this one. This one I'm going to go 17-9.
I'm not going to give you a score on this one, but I am going to give you a quarter. As in the quarter at which I think Matt Jones finds his way to the bench. I'm going third.
Well, by then, hopefully they'll be too beaten to come back. Because I'll be honest with you, you know, anytime that they are playing bad, I'm a happy guy because they deserve it. Karma is a bia.
Uh, so next up, we have the Bills at the Jets.
Bills.
Yeah. I think the Jets are a feel good story. I think that Robert Saleh has them on the right track, but they're not ready for this. I'm going to go Bills.
I do want to say, if you've watched me throughout shows this week, you're going to look at me and say, dude, these picks are half different from what you picked. I don't even remember what I picked yesterday, okay? So we're just going with how I feel right now.
We got the Vikings at the Commanders. Vikings.
I am going with Taylor Heineke and the Commanders because the team plays for him. They want to win for him because they don't want Mr. Softy, the commander himself, Carson, back under center. And if they win games, it's a good possibility that won't happen.
I mean, it's a good motivation. I don't think it's going to be enough.
They back to 400.
I know.
This is them getting over 400 and making a whole division over 400 and solidifying the NFC Beast.
I'm going to assume that you meant 500 because I've never heard of anybody saying 400.
I did mean 500.
Okay, just making sure I wasn't missing out on something. I thought maybe I had, I thought maybe I had missed something because I was like, maybe something new.
To you, sir. It's been a long week.
Yeah, bro. Look, that's why I had to make sure I wasn't missing something. I was like, maybe I missed something this week. I don't know because with the whole 17 games instead of 16, I don't even know what we say about people in their records anymore. Maybe 400 is a thing now. I don't know. All right, so we got the Seahawks, the surprising 5-3 first place Seahawks at the Cardinals.
There was a new Call of Duty that came out this week. I know it's not the one. I know it's not his favorite, but it's still a new Call of Duty. So him and Ben Simmons have something to bond over. I think that Newt Hopkins, of course, makes them a lot more formidable than they were without him. You still got Zach Ertz. You still got a lot of different people to talk about on the team. But at the end of the day, your quarterback's more focused on gaming than he is playing quarterback, from the vibes I'm getting. So I'm going to actually say the Seahawks continue with what they're doing for at least another week. And they beat Kyler, and I'm going to start calling him Kyler the toddler because he looks so small out there playing with everybody else, and the Cardinals.
Earlier when you said that Atlanta was going to come crashing back down this week,
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle's going to be the team to come crashing back down this week.
Okay.
And I'm mostly making that prediction based on the fact of just knowing the way these teams normally play each other. I think that Arizona wins a close one.
Fair enough.
All right, we got the Rams at the Bucks.
So this is a tough one, right? Because both teams are heading in a terrible direction. What I'd say
It's
is,
crazy to just think about how bad these teams are from where we would have expected them to be, right?
I enjoy them both being bad, by the way.
I do too.
I'm gonna go Rams if Cooper Kupp plays, which he's on track to do so, because I think how dynamic he is, he's gonna be a difference maker. He can pop 2 touchdowns on the board by itself. They're gonna get another one between the run game and other receivers, so they're gonna get at least 21 in this game. And the way Tampa Bay is playing right now, they're not gonna be able to put up 21 points. They're gonna lose this game.
Listen, Tom Brady has a very big problem. And it's
Tom
not
Brady.
his divorce, it's his offensive line. It's offensively bad. And I don't care how poorly the Rams are playing on offense right now. They still have Aaron Donald. They still have a Bobby Wagner. I think this Rams front is going to terrorize Tom Brady all game long. I'm actually picking the Rams.
Okay.
We got the Titans at the Chiefs. Can Derrick Henry keep the Titans and slow this game down enough to pull out a win? It's really the question in my mind. And my answer is no.
It's hard to pick against the Titans, man. They're really doing their thing right now. I think Malik Willis adds that dimension that they were kind of missing. That's a mobile quarterback. You don't need a guy to sit back there. At this time this year, you don't need a guy to sit back there and throw for 300 yards, right? You just need a guy that can make a couple of throws when they're needed. Can also use his legs and his versatility of a skill set to help his team be better. And the Chiefs, if Henry gets out there and does his thing, his backup gets out there and does like he did last week, I mean, come on. It's going to be hard for Mahomes to get a lot of drives going. And that being the case, you get a good opportunity to get a win. Now, the trick here is if Mahomes gets out there and goes air raid offense on that secondary of the Titans, which is definitely their weakest part of the team. Part of it's injury, part of it's just poor play. But I'm still picking Tennessee because sometimes there's going to be upset. Why not try to pick them?
Monday night, we have the Ravens at the Saints. I'm going Ravens on this one.
You should be. So am I.
Yeah. And then next Thursday night, feel like this is some deja vu. Feel like we just literally saw this. The Falcons at the Panthers.
I'm going to go Panthers rematch. It's time for them to be out for blood. Get that win back from the one they gave away. I'm going to go Panthers. PJ Walker continues what he's doing. And I love it. I love to see the story of the old XFL QB that got brought over. Finally kind of adapting and adjusting to the NFL. And I just hope he continues to do what he's doing so he gets an opportunity somewhere, whether it's in Carolina or whether it's with another team.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I would like to see Carolina win. I'm actually going to pick them as well. I would like to see them win, if for no other reason than, like you said, it gives a young quarterback a chance to go out there and kind of show that he can play in this league. We know what he did in the XFL, but gives him a chance to go out there and prove himself. And if he doesn't get an opportunity in Carolina, maybe get the opportunity somewhere else. But also, don't forget their coach. A lot of people felt he was prematurely fired in Arizona. So maybe gets kept on as the coach in Carolina, maybe not. But you hope that they can win enough games for him to get an opportunity to show that he really can be a good head coach in this league and maybe get himself another opportunity. So that's our picks for the week, man. Any closing thoughts that you want to share, or any stories that you want to touch on real quick that we haven't touched on yet?
So we have Crown Jewel tomorrow.
Hmm.
Um, I'm excited for what could possibly happen. For those of you who follow professional wrestling, Bray Wyatt has returned. It's confirmed that he's going to be at Crown Jewel. We're starting to get some of this Wyatt Six faction that we've been hearing a lot about. No confirmation is happening yet, but a lot of stories about that. So this could be a big weekend as far as the storytelling goes for WWE. Triple H is taking over. Looks like a different product. It's actually watchable again. It's not the same thing week after week, and schedules getting thrown around, and everything getting changed the last minute, and we're not getting payoffs from storylines. So excited to see what this next pay-per-view under his regime, where he's got a little bit more time to get the guys he's wanted there and kind of introduce and intertwine stories. So just excited to see where that goes. Wish I was going to be able to do play-by-play for that, but unfortunately I am not going to be able to.
Well, man, I'm sure that people will miss your play-by-play opportunities there, but
And the Eagles are 8-0. Fly Eagles fly.
my final thoughts. I'm just gonna say, Niners got a bye this week. Thank goodness we still own the Rams. And looking forward to see what this team is going to be once Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are both on the field together. And tomorrow night, Florida State, Miami, go Noles. It's on.
And Matchup Madness tomorrow night as well. I mean, not Matchup Madness. NFC Beast tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, I mean, for those who do not know, real quick, man, let's just go and throw this out there. So the NFC Beast show comes on Saturday nights at 9 o'clock. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so 9 o'clock, and that's covering your teams from the NFC East, in case you maybe hadn't figured that out. We also on Tuesday nights during the season have NFL Matchup Madness, where we actually have fans from all 32 NFL teams who will be popping in and actually giving their insights into their team's matchup for that week, which is co-hosted by my co-host here. I don't co-host on that show. I'm actually the 49ers representative over there because it's, the main time I really am allowed to talk about my team. So Wednesday nights, Eagles Elite Podcast, which you can actually find by looking for at Eagles Elite Podcast. But that is Wednesday nights at 8:30. So we're doing big things over here at Play Color Sports.
It's all about the productions, baby.
Yeah. So, man, I know we didn't really have a lot of people in the comments tonight, but I did see people tuning in and checking out the show. So, whether you comment or not, man, it's always love for anybody who takes out the time to watch the show. Whether you're catching us live, you're catching on replay, just know we appreciate it. We can't be the tag team champions of interactive sports talk without our fans. So always appreciate you tuning in. And, don't forget, check out the community tab on our channel. Just another way to kind of engage, meet some other sports fans, talk a little sports, and have some fun. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button too.
And you guys
that like button.
You're not my fans. You're part of my community. You're part of my family. So you're
Yes.
my family.
But they can be both, man. They can be fans and family. It's not a one or another thing, man.
I'm just saying they're my family. Everyone that watches is my peeps. 200 and some of y'all. All love for everybody.
They're our peeps, man. Don't be trying to
even
make me
the
like
ones that are, even the ones that are Cowboys fans. I'll even claim you.
I was trying to vilify the white guy. I tell you.
I spoke from the eye. I never said that you didn't feel the same way. I just spoke from the eye so people would know the thoughts that were in my mind.
Well, man, again, appreciate everybody. We'll see y'all back next Friday night, 7:30. or 7 p.m. Excuse me. Got too many shows now. I can't keep up with our own show anymore. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Holla at y'all.